The broadcast began without warning, its signal overriding every frequency across the galaxy. The image was cold, clinical, an empty black backdrop, the emblem of the Galactic Council glowing ominously at its center. A synthesized voice, devoid of emotion, delivered the chilling message. Humans of Earth, your defiance against the Galactic Council cannot be tolerated. You have been warned repeatedly, yet you persist in your insolence. Now you will witness the price of rebellion. The screen shifted to reveal a group of human children. They were shackled, their faces pale with fear. Some clutched each other for comfort, while others stared at the camera with tear-streaked cheeks. Their small, fragile forms made the scene unbearable to watch. The faceless voice continued, unaffected by the horror it was inflicting. These children are guilty by association. Their parents are members of resistance cells. Their lives will serve as an example to all. On Earth, people gathered in silence around screens, their faces etched with disbelief. In bustling cities and remote towns, the broadcast united humanity in shared grief and anger. Mothers wept openly, clutching their own children close. Fathers clenched their fists, helpless rage burning in their eyes. Soldiers stood frozen, their training unable to prepare them for the raw, visceral pain of this moment. The voice pressed on, each word a dagger in the hearts of its audience. You are powerless to intervene. Watch and learn the cost of opposing the council. The camera lingered on the children one final time. A girl, no older than 10, lifted her chin despite her trembling lips. She whispered something, inaudible to the audience, but the movement of her lips suggested defiance. The screen flickered, then went dark. There was no sound, no transition, only silence. Humanity had just witnessed the unthinkable, and for a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. Then, like a storm breaking, the silence erupted into chaos. At a military command center, high-ranking officials slammed their fists against tables, their voices rising in anger and grief. A general turned to the room, his voice trembling with restrained fury. This cannot go unanswered. Not this. Across the globe, the call for action grew louder. Protests erupted, citizens demanding retribution against the council. Leaders convened in hastily arranged meetings, their faces grim as they discussed the enormity of the situation. The images of the children haunted every conversation. Among the chaos, a singular voice rose. A scientist who had worked in the shadows for years, preparing for this very moment. We have an option, she said, her voice steady despite the storm of emotions. The council believes they can break us, but they don't know what we've been building. It's time to show them humanity's true strength. The room fell silent as the proposal was laid out. It was risky, unprecedented, and brutal. But as the faces around the table hardened with resolve, there was no doubt. Humanity would answer. The council had made a grave mistake. The room was dimly lit, its walls lined with monitors displaying genetic sequences, combat simulations, and data streams. At the center stood a holographic projection of what could only be described as a monster. A towering, wolf-like figure with claws sharp enough to tear steel. The lead scientist, Dr. Elena Kaur, spoke with an unsettling calm. This is Project Lycan. Years ago, when the Galactic Council first began its campaign of subjugation, we realized conventional warfare would not suffice. They outnumbered and outgunned us, but they underestimated one thing: our ability to adapt. The generals and world leaders present listened intently, their anger from the recent broadcast fueling their focus. Elena continued, gesturing toward the hologram. We took inspiration from Earth's mythology. Stories of creatures that embody primal strength and ferocity. The werewolf, a fusion of human intelligence and animalistic instinct. Through genetic engineering and nanotechnology, we've brought that legend to life. Her words hung in the air, heavy with implication. On another monitor, live footage played, showing one of the creatures in action. A single werewolf tore through simulated alien forces with terrifying efficiency. Its claws shredded armor like paper, and its speed made it a blur on the battlefield. These soldiers are more than weapons, Elena explained. They are humanity's edge. Enhanced reflexes, heightened senses, regenerative capabilities. These traits make them perfect for guerrilla warfare. They can thrive in hostile environments where no human could survive. A grizzled general leaned forward, his skepticism barely concealed. What about their control? We're not unleashing monsters on ourselves, are we? Elena met his gaze, unwavering. Their human core remains intact. Each subject underwent rigorous psychological conditioning to ensure loyalty. They're soldiers, not beasts, and they understand the stakes better than anyone. The focus shifted to the team itself. A group of 5 stood behind a glass partition, each a towering figure of muscle and fur. They were clad in lightweight combat suits designed to enhance their natural abilities. Despite their fearsome appearance, their eyes held intelligence and determination. This is Alpha Squad, Elena introduced. Each member was chosen not just for physical compatibility, but for their ability to think strategically and work as a team. She gestured to the leader, a massive figure with silver streaks in his fur. Alpha, the commander, calm under pressure and a brilliant tactician. Next, a leaner figure stepped forward. Beta, the scout, quick, silent, and capable of infiltrating even the most secure locations. Finally, a hulking presence loomed at the back. Omega, our last resort. His role is simple: destruction. If we deploy him, it means we've exhausted every other option. The room fell silent as the reality of the proposal set in. Humanity wasn't just fighting back. They were prepared to redefine the rules of war. One of the leaders finally broke the silence. And their mission? Elena's expression hardened. The heart of the council will strike at their core, dismantle their propaganda, and show the galaxy that Earth will not kneel. These children's deaths will not be in vain. The decision was unanimous. Humanity's rage had found its weapon. The alien capital world loomed ahead, a sprawling metropolis of towering spires and glowing energy fields. The werewolves descended silently, their ship cloaked by advanced human technology. As they landed, Alpha gave the signal, and the team dispersed into the shadows. The council's stronghold was an imposing structure at the center of the city, surrounded by layers of defense systems and armed patrols. The werewolves moved with calculated precision, their enhanced senses guiding them through blind spots and bypassing security measures. Every sound, every vibration in the air was registered, analyzed, and acted upon. They were predators in an alien jungle, and nothing would stop them. Beta led the way, his lithe frame slipping through narrow passageways and scaling walls with ease. He reached a vantage point, surveying the patrol routes of the alien guards. Their movements were predictable, their reliance on technology a glaring weakness. Beta transmitted the patterns to the rest of the team, and they adjusted their approach. The first encounter came quickly. A squad of alien soldiers patrolled a narrow corridor, their weapons humming with lethal energy. Omega stepped forward, his massive form emerging from the darkness. The aliens raised their weapons, but they were too slow. With a guttural growl, Omega launched himself at them, his claws tearing through their armor like it was paper. The fight was over in seconds, the aliens' bodies left in a mangled heap. Alpha moved to Omega's side, his tone firm but measured. Clean, quiet, no unnecessary noise. Omega grunted in response, his feral instincts reined in by discipline. The team pressed forward. Inside the stronghold, the werewolves began their sabotage. Beta disabled communication relays, plunging sections of the facility into confusion. Gamma, the team's tech specialist, planted viruses in the Council's data systems, corrupting their files and disrupting their operations. Meanwhile, Delta set explosive charges at structural weak points, ensuring that escape wouldn't be an option. The psychological warfare began in earnest. Alien guards caught fleeting glimpses of monstrous figures in the shadows, their forms distorted by the dim light. Growls echoed through the halls, low and menacing. Panic spread like wildfire. The Council's forces had never faced an enemy like this, silent, deadly, and utterly unrelenting. Reaching the Council's central chamber required breaching its final line of defense. a squad of heavily armed elites guarding a reinforced door. Alpha signaled the team and they moved as one. Beta took out the guard spotters, his strikes swift and precise. Delta distracted the main force with well-placed explosives, while Omega charged in, his sheer strength overwhelming even the most advanced alien armor. With the guards neutralized, Gamma hacked into the door's security systems, and the team entered the chamber. The council members stood in holographic projection, their faceless forms towering and imposing. Alpha stepped forward, his voice steady and cold. "You thought humanity would cower. You thought your brutality would break us. But all you've done is awaken something you can't control." As he spoke, the council's projection faltered, their facade cracking under the weight of their own fear. The werewolves didn't stay long. They had sent their message, and their mission was clear: strike terror into those who sought to oppress Earth. The council would not forget this night. The broadcast began again, but this time it wasn't the council's calculated propaganda. The screen flickered, revealing a scene of chaos within their own stronghold. Alien guards lay scattered, weapons destroyed, walls scarred by claw marks. The image zoomed out, showing the once impenetrable chamber now reduced to rubble. The message was clear. The council had been attacked, and it was no longer untouchable. Then came the voice. It was human, resolute, and filled with unyielding defiance. "This is humanity speaking. You have executed our children, thinking it would break us. Instead, it has united us." The council's remaining members appeared on the screen, their faceless forms smaller now, diminished. Their silence was telling. For the first time, they were the ones being watched, judged, and condemned. The broadcast shifted, showing Earth. Millions of humans stood together in every corner of the planet, their faces determined. The voice continued, "You sought to make an example of us, but it is you who will be the example. Let this be a warning to all who think they can rule through fear. Humanity will never bow." Across the galaxy, oppressed species watched the transmission in awe. For years, they had endured the Council's tyranny, believing resistance to be futile. But now, humanity had done the unthinkable. It had struck back and lived to tell the tale. As the broadcast ended, the werewolves stood in the shadows of their ship, watching their handiwork unfold. Alpha turned to the team, his voice low but steady. "We've given them hope. That's more powerful than any weapon." The Council, shaken but not defeated, scrambled to assess the damage. Their propaganda had been turned against them, their carefully constructed image shattered. They knew retaliation would come, but so did humanity. On Earth, the mood was both somber and triumphant. The children's deaths could never be undone, but their sacrifice had ignited something unbreakable. Families who had once lived in fear now spoke openly of rebellion. Soldiers who had doubted their purpose now trained harder than ever. The werewolf squad returned in secrecy, their mission a success but their existence still a closely guarded secret. They were warriors, yes, but also symbols of what humanity could achieve when pushed to the brink. In a quiet moment, Dr. Elena Kaur addressed the squad. "You've changed the game. They'll come for us now, harder than ever. But you've shown them what we're capable of." Alpha's response was simple. "We're ready." The closing days of the Council's reign had begun, though they didn't know it yet. Across the galaxy, whispers of rebellion spread, fueled by Earth's defiance. Other species began to rise, inspired by the sight of a once powerless world standing tall. And on Earth, humanity prepared for the battles to come. They knew the Council would strike back, but they also knew they wouldn't face it alone. The werewolves were ready, the people were united, and the galaxy had seen the first sparks of a revolution. This time, it wasn't just about survival. It was about justice, freedom, and the unbreakable spirit of humanity.